You're tuned in to More Living with Jim Brogan, broadcast live from the Brogan Financial Studios at News Talk 98.7, where old-fashioned values, expert knowledge, and genuine understanding come together to give you the retirement straight talk you deserve. Jim's a former National Advisor of the Year recipient and a financial educator, and he's here today to talk about how you can live out the best years of your life. Jim and the Brogan Financial team have been helping retirees and pre-retirees across the Southeast for over 20 years in their pursuit of financial independence. You can reach them during the week at 865-862-6800. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn, because More Living with Jim Brogan starts now.
Hello, East Tennessee. Welcome to More Living with Jim Brogan, where it's all about living the best years of your life your way. This is News Talk 98.7 WOKI, and Knoxville continues to grow no matter where we look. With new businesses moving to the area, existing companies expanding, and over 5,000 new residents to Knox County in 2022, Knoxville is absolutely thriving. I think the low cost of living, although certainly real estate prices have really started to become very escalated. But great incentives for businesses and quality job opportunities. East Tennessee definitely offers a great place to raise a family, to operate a business, and to spend retirement. The economic growth in Knoxville has been at a steady pace for decades, and the Knoxville area is continuing to grow at a rapid pace. This morning, we have Doug Lawyer, the Vice President of Economic Development for the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce, who, of course, has been on the show many times over the years. He's been with the Chamber since 2021. He has a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Tennessee. He serves on a variety of boards in our region and focuses his efforts attracting and retaining top companies and talent, so we can continue to be responsible for economic growth for our region and continue to see those things. Welcome back to the show, Doug. It's great to have you with us.
Good morning, Jim. I appreciate the opportunity and always enjoy our conversations. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. The mission statement for the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce, Doug, is a prosperous, progressive economy forged from a heritage of innovation. How has the economy and growth in the area changed over the last 2 decades?
Well, I tell you, you kind of hit the nail on the head at the beginning. You know, Knoxville is in a really interesting position right now. And, you know, over the past many years, we have seen a lot of quality companies continue, first and foremost, our existing business, you know, expanding and starting to see some major corporations investing into the community that didn't have locations here. I think the biggest shift that we've seen over the past, say, 10, 15, 20 years is we're starting to see a transition a little bit from a lot of manufacturing operations to more engineering and computing type occupations and research and development, and also a big emphasis in supporting entrepreneurs in the region and helping to grow those kind of techie startup and home-based businesses. So it's definitely a fun time to be in Knoxville.
Let's dive into a couple of those areas. First off, Doug, let's talk about Advanced Knox. What is Advanced Knox?
Yeah, so Advanced Knox was a comprehensive look at land planning throughout Knox County, kind of looking at how going forward the next 20 or 30 years, how does our community need to develop out? And had to make some, you know, our leaders had to make some tough decisions about which areas of the community are ripe for growth and where can we, you know, preserve land and where can we protect, you know, scenic vistas, as well as have opportunities to increase density in certain areas. So that was a long process and kind of a roadmap for the future for our community.
So with Knoxville growing, I feel like it's bursting at the seams. What are some of the biggest areas? You talk about Advanced Knox. What are some of the biggest areas of the county that are experiencing the most growth right now?
Well, you know, certainly downtown continues to boom. You're seeing density, you know, really springing up, particularly along the south waterfront. across the river and down from downtown Knoxville. You're seeing, tremendous growth in northwest and southwest Knox County. But even going out into East Knox County, for example, one of the largest announcements that we had in the past several months was a development out at the Midway Road interchange, exit 402, with a company called Greenhead Group that's going to acquire about 330 acres out there and develop a corporate manufacturing campus for their products, bringing initially 440 jobs and a $300 million investment, and then continuing to grow from there over the next decade. So that's really going to transform that interchange at I-40 and exit 402.
Yeah, that's just before you get out there to Sevier County. So I guess that's getting right on the eastern edge of Knox County. What are some other trends you're seeing right now in economic development, Doug?
Yeah, well, some of the other trends that we're seeing are, companies very, very early in the conversation asking about workforce. We used to, 20 years ago, it was, hey, I need 5 acres or a 100,000 square foot building. And those questions are still being asked, but they're really drilling down more into workforce assets, technology assets of the community. What does our talent pipeline look like? And we're digging back into, even going down into, the high schools and the 865 academies that Knox County Schools has, and helping companies understand, the child that might be sitting in ninth grade today, how 3 or 4 or 5 years from now that is going to be a trained employee for their business. So workforce is probably one of the biggest differences in our process these days.
Talk to us a little bit, Doug. You were talking about attracting businesses and all that, but talk to us about the cooperation between Knox County and with the surrounding counties. I mean, we've got a lot of growth going on in Blount County, a lot of other counties right around Knox County. So talk to us a little bit about that collaboration between counties.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it happens really frequently. So there are certain projects that, for example, the Knoxville Chamber might team up to assist a surrounding community. There are projects from time to time that, a company is looking at a location in Knox County and might be looking at one of our neighboring counties at the same time. And so we've often teamed up with that surrounding community. A couple great recent examples, when Smith & Wesson decided to relocate their operations out of Massachusetts, the Knoxville Chamber and the Blount Partnership teamed up on that business attraction project. And they ultimately chose a great location down in Maryville, and that's a win for certainly Blount County and as well as Knox County. When you get a corporate brand like that locates in your community, that kind of sends messages out. So there's oftentimes, and another way cooperation happens is a company might say, hey, we're thinking of relocating out of this community and moving to the community next door. And so if I get those calls, a company saying, hey, we might want to come into Knox County, first question I'm going to ask is, have you talked to your local community? Is there a solution where you're at currently? We never want to be seen as, poaching a company from one county across county lines. That doesn't really benefit. It's a regional workforce. And so that there is definite two-way dialogue.
Yeah, because I think of when I think of Knoxville, I think of the statistical metropolitan area, which is going to create, include all the surrounding counties. That's the regional footprint that, again, you mentioned the workforce. I mean, we're all kind of attracting people to this area, and then that's going to be a boom, for in the case of Smith & Wesson, that helps Blount County, it helps Knox County, it probably helps Loudoun County. I mean, it helps several counties around the area, right? Exactly. Yeah, so we're visiting with Doug Lawyer this morning. He is with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce, and we're talking about the growth of Knoxville. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about how industries have changed and evolved. And Doug mentioned in that first segment about the evolution of the Knoxville workforce and the labor force, and that being more of the focus for economic expansion in Knoxville. So stay with us as we visit with Doug Lawyer with the Knoxville Chamber. You're listening to More Living with Jim Brogan right here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Thank you for tuning in this week. You're listening to More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. I'm your host, Jim Brogan. We're with you every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. and again from 3 to 4 p.m. You can also catch us online. You can podcast our show. Number one, you can go to my website, broganfinancial.com, and click on radio. You can also download through your favorite Spotify or Apple podcast. We're visiting this morning with Doug Lawyer, and we're talking about the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce and all the great things that are happening with growth in Knoxville. You know, Doug, sometimes when we think about growth, there can be pain in progress. It seems like there's growth can disrupt certain things with construction, with road projects, and all of the things that go with that. Talk to us about the balance between the pain of progress and seeing continued economic growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Growth. First of all, growth is good. You want to be in a community that is growing and thriving, and sometimes there are some pain points, and we hear very often, traffic has increased, prices have gone up. It's difficult to find a house. And so those are some pain points that we're working on. And, the chamber and our partners, focus on those issues as well, working on the infrastructure and transportation side and working with our partners at TDOT and city and county engineering to help facilitate additional road improvement projects, working on the housing side to encourage, higher density housing and infill development in the city and certain areas of the city to utilize infrastructure that's there that maybe isn't being used to its maximum potential. So it's definitely an issue that comes up, and sometimes there's a little bit of pain to live through until things get worked out. And but I'd much rather be in a community that's experiencing growth than decline. And so
Absolutely.
We're all blessed to be in a spot that's having some of those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned in the opener, Doug, that I mentioned the low cost of living in Knoxville, or the competitive cost of living, let's say, is one of the things that attracts people to this area. The cost of real estate has started to really become a little bit of an issue there in housing. It seems to me like, there's a lot, it's almost like a perfect storm. We've got a problem with inventory of homes. That's going to drive prices higher, even though interest rates are higher. A lot of people don't want to give up their mortgages that are written at 2.5%, 3.5%. But it seems like multifamily is going up just everywhere you turn around. There's multifamily apartments going up. Is that kind of where we're headed more towards in terms of being able to attract talent that can afford housing in the East Tennessee area?
Yeah, I think you're going to continue to see more multifamily development. We're getting inquiries from developers, out-of-state developers looking at this market. They're all studying the trends of different communities around the country as they're trying to decide where to invest their capital and resources. And Knoxville looks really good. Supply is low, demand is high. There's a product that needs to be built, and so and we want to make sure that there's a variety of housing being built. Multifamily is one component. I mentioned infill housing. Within the city, maybe take a lot that used to have one home, but it's a big lot, and maybe go duplexes or triplexes to encourage density. Maybe those properties are on a public transit line with CAT bus and can help relieve, ease the traffic congestion issues. So you really got to have a mix, and affordable and workforce housing, multifamily are all part of the solution. I'm looking out the back window of my house this morning, and there's a new neighborhood going up in my backyard. And, it's good. The more homes we have, the better off we're going to be.
Let's pivot to the changing labor force, and you had mentioned that in the first segment about the change in the emphasis to the labor force. Let's start with the industries that are successful in our area that have been here a while. How have they changed or evolved over the past couple of decades?
Yeah, so as I mentioned on the front end of the show, we've historically had a lot of manufacturing and distribution type of operations throughout the region, and they continue to grow and thrive and expand here in this market. But the big change a couple big changes that everybody is talking about. One is automation, and how is automation going to impact the workplace? From a production line to a distribution center, automation is coming. We're already seeing the effects of it, and what that means is higher capital investment, typically with projects in automation, and lower headcounts, with requiring less human capital. However, the folks that are going to be working at those facilities that are highly automated are going to be higher paid, higher skilled, need advanced training. So that's one big change, automation. And then the second is, what is artificial intelligence going to do in the workplace? And a lot of companies are crafting strategies. What is AI going to mean for this, for our line of business, and how are we going to use artificial intelligence? So automation and AI are two of the big trends that we are definitely starting to hear a lot about.
Yeah, you mentioned manufacturing. The city is home to a number of companies that specialize in making products for automotive, aerospace, energy sectors. But those jobs have and are evolving from manual labor to much more automated, and so the skill sets change. So talk a little bit about the launch of a new business-led strategic economic direction called 2030 Protocol.
Yeah, so 2030 Protocol, and if your listeners wanted to dig into it, they can go to Knoxville Chamber and search 2030 Protocol, and it'll kind of pull up. But what it is really kind of a strategic economic development or economic direction for the community. So we've looked at a lot of different communities across the country and seen the communities that are growing, and really our one of our key metrics, our litmus test, so to speak, is what's the average annual wage in a community. And we're kind of falling behind some of our peer communities like, Huntsville and Raleigh and Greenville, South Carolina, and others. And so what the Protocol 2030 is talking about is, what are the issues? So the issues are, our pay is lower than some of our peer communities. We're not growing enough of that key workforce demographic, that 25 to 54-year-old. And there's how are we going to handle the change of the next industrial revolution, which we call the imagination age. So it all comes down to computing and engineering talent and those types of businesses, and how are we ramping up to be ready for that automation, that AI, those technology-based businesses. So,
Well, and you mentioned the average annual pay. According to your chamber analysis, every 1,000, like the average annual pay in Knox County, according to this data I have from the chamber, is just slightly less than $60,000 per year. And according to the chamber analysis, every $1,000 in increase in annual average pay equates to $1.8 million in new economic impact.
That's correct. That's
a pretty alarming number.
It is. And that's, as we're talking to companies that are looking at locating here, that's one of our first questions. Tell me about your positions and what do you think the pay is going to be? And so we move that needle by focusing our attraction efforts as well as our expansion efforts on those companies that are going to be bringing the higher quality, higher skill set, higher paid jobs to this community.
When you look at the skill sets, I know there's a lot of discussion of automation eliminating jobs. I think personally, and you may disagree, and it's fine if you do, Doug, this is why I want your opinion on this. Personally, I think that's overblown. I mean, I do think it will reduce some jobs for sure, but I think our workforce, the skill sets required to succeed in the workforce are merely going to evolve with AI, computing, engineering. You've kind of mentioned those things. I think it's, back to when we went into the industrial age to begin with, it's a huge paradigm shift in our economic activity. And so the skill of various workers simply has to evolve. I don't, and again, that doesn't mean we don't lose some jobs, but I think that's somewhat overblown because I think people evolve their skill sets to be, we're in a world of supply and demand. With the democracy. I mean, what do you think of that? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Or do you think the answer's in
Well,
the middle, maybe?
Well, I definitely think that there are going to be jobs that are lost due to automation. But typically, and what we're hearing from our existing businesses is, the jobs that are first to automate, and, it may go from 10 folks on a line to 2 folks on a line are the jobs that they can't fill. That they just, people show up and they do it for a few hours and they're like, I'm not doing this anymore. So it's the super low skilled, monotonous manual things that can be automated. But if somebody upskills and stays on that line, well, they're probably going to be making more money because now they're going to understand how to tweak that automated line or how to manipulate that robot if something goes wrong to make it. So their skill sets are going up, which means their pay is also going up.
So when you look at the initiative, when it's a focus on increasing the pipeline of computing talent in the region, I know the 2030 protocol specifically asks institutions, namely the University of Tennessee, of course, Pellissippi State Community College, and Knox County schools. Talk about the efforts with those institutions to increasing the types of skills that are needed in the area.
Yeah, and first of all, this wasn't just the chamber saying you need to do this. This was having direct dialogue with all of those institutions, and all of them were very supportive and saying, hey, this is something that we definitely need to do. University of Tennessee is certainly a great partner, and one of the things that we tout all the time to businesses, engaging and connecting with UT. Pellissippi State, very similar as well, a tremendous partner. And, Knox County schools now with the 865 academies, every single high school now is in the 865 academy model here in Knox County. And so we can now say to businesses, hey, we're starting to align the education and training for future jobs going, as low as ninth grade. When a student enters high school. So it's a good continuum of training and education in the community, and we're excited that our partners we're all kind of rolling up our sleeves together to help figure this out for the next 20 to 30 years in our community.
Doug, for high school and college students today, those looking for a career, here recently we had Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs on, and he was talking about not only education, but also, skilled workers, skilled trade. So what kinds of careers and skills are you seeing that are currently in high demand that won't necessarily be obsolete in 10 years for those that may be listening that are in high school or college or parents of high school or college students?
Yeah, great question. On the skilled types of positions, so anything in welding, HVAC, plumbing, machining, all of those are super high demand, really good paying jobs. We're seeing tremendous growth in, any type of IT, information technology, cybersecurity types of positions. Data analytics is a hot field that's growing, very, very well paid. All of the, healthcare, nursing, continue to see intense demand and not enough supply coming into the pipeline. So those are some areas that are really starting to pop right now in this community.
We're visiting with Doug Lawyer. He's with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. When we come back, we'll have more. We're going to talk specifically about the importance of small businesses, but also some of the challenges of small business growth and finding great employees. We'll also have our dollars and cents segment. In a recent study, what is the main driver behind retirees spending more income and feeling good about spending more income safely? So stay with us. This is More Living with Jim Brogan here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Here we grow again. Knoxville is continuing to grow. We have so many things beautiful about the East Tennessee area. Economic growth and development, of course, is a key aspect of that. We're visiting this morning with Doug Lawyer here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. He is with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. Before we get back to Doug, however, it is time for dollars and cents.
Want to be sure you are getting the most out of your retirement? For all the years of your retirement? That's the primary goal of More Living with Jim Brogan and our Dollars and Cents segment, where we provide you with an important financial tip that will help positively impact the quality of your life in retirement. And now, here's Jim with this week's Dollars and Cents tip.
How can you confidently spend more money for retirement income in retirement? You know, the reality is most people are not really planning seriously to make bequests to their family when they're gone and leaving them a bunch of money. 75% of people in a recent survey had said, according to Investment News, it's really not important to them what they leave behind. And therefore, many retirees, according to a recent study, unnecessarily cut back on discretionary spending in retirement. So what is the single biggest thing, according to this study, that causes people to confidently spend more money? And maybe more importantly, how true is the assumption that it makes, and what kind of advice can I give you on that? So the one thing that seems to give people a license to spend more in retirement is having higher guaranteed income sources. What are guaranteed income sources? Typically, this would be a higher Social Security benefit. That would include pension assets, which I understand, are becoming fewer and further between in today's workforce, and income annuities that are kind of like a pension. Well, it's a pension type annuity that provides guaranteed income for life. The amount of extra discretionary spending for consumers that have higher guaranteed income is really quite significant, because people think more about guaranteed income sources differently than they do savings, because people don't want to eat into their savings too much. And as I've said before, we don't retire on savings, we retire on income. Now, how do you create higher guaranteed income? And is that the key to retirement success? I think it is one of the important factors. But there are different ways to increase your retirement income that's guaranteed. One is your Social Security strategy. That's certainly a very, very important idea, because people are living longer and longer lives, and you can never outlive your Social Security income under current rules. And it's important to understand how spousal benefits work, how widow and widower benefits work, divorce spousal and widower benefits. All those things are critically important to understand in order to maximize that Social Security income. And if, for example, you have a plan to draw structured income to get you to age 70, and then you go on Social Security and your income's so much higher, you really don't need to touch your savings much. Well, that can give you a lot more freedom and flexibility to spend money in retirement. Now then, income annuities are also becoming more and more popular, where they guarantee an income for life, yet if it's done the right way, the kids can still get whatever's left. The thing with income guaranteed annuities is they do have a cost, and somebody's going to have to bear that cost. More often than not, The cost is borne by the estate or the people inheriting your wealth. In other words, when you set up something like that, there is a cost. The benefit is higher guaranteed income. The cost is you're more than likely not going to pass away with as much money because of the cost of those guarantees. That's just common sense, right? And I could sit down with you and look at any potential product you'll be looking at it, and I can talk to you about that cost and show you that cost, but then what the trade-off of the benefit is. But you know what I think the number one thing is that we can learn from this study? Having a plan where you can confidently spend money in retirement is the holy grail to retirement confidence. And certainly guaranteed income is part of that, and Social Security election is a huge part of that. The bottom line is if you construct a sound financial plan and you understand how it's going to work and how it's going to evolve, you also understand that markets are unpredictable and there's going to be good markets, there's going to be bad markets, but you have at least somewhat of an understanding of how you're going to be insulated from the impact of bad markets, bear markets. And you've got a plan to mitigate that effect, and you can feel more confident in your income, then you can just be more confident in retirement. So I think the biggest takeaway is having a well-developed plan. Certainly maximizing guaranteed income should be a part of that plan, which is pension, Social Security income, maybe an income annuity. But the bottom line is having a well-structured and organized plan that you can understand, and you understand the trade-offs between, higher guaranteed income versus what's left behind for the family.
That's our Dollars and Cents segment for this week. You can find this week's Dollars and Cents segment and others by visiting BroganFinancial.com.
Do check us out online, BroganFinancial.com. If you'll click on classes, I have a one-night class at the end of August. It's not too early to sign up for that class. It's at Pellissippi State's Hardin Valley location. You can go to PellissippiRetirementIncome.com. It is on August the 29th. It is a one-night class, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., so 2 hours specifically focused on income and retirement. Now, taxation of income will certainly be a big part of that, but income in retirement. And so being able to create a plan where you can live the life in the retirement that you want and can live it with confidence and peace of mind. We're visiting with Doug Lawyer this morning. He is with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. And, Doug, there are over 33 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses employ over 61 million Americans, and that ends up being almost half of private sector employees, 46% of private sector employees. And most of these small businesses begin as a startup. I mean, I'm a small business. I began as a startup. I began as a one-man operation in 2001, right before 9/11. And we now have over 20 employees. So many challenges come with starting a new business. The Chamber has a new program called Morning Momentum. Can you talk to us about Morning Momentum?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for you starting a business and hiring folks, and that's a great success story from 1 to over 20 employees. So, so companies that are in startup mode, it can be a terrifying experience, to roll the dice and put capital at risk. So, Morning Momentum is a new program that the Chamber has launched where, and folks, again, can go to our KnoxvilleChamber.com website and read about it and apply to be a part of it. So it's designed for startup companies to bring a problem or an issue that they're having with their company. And basically, we'll have a group of seasoned business professionals from Chamber Board and our Small Business Entrepreneurship Council that we have to basically help that entrepreneur kind of brainstorm for 20, 30, 40 minutes about, hey, tell me about your problem. I've experienced that in my business, and here's what we did, and hopefully those entrepreneurs walk out of that conversation with 1 or 2 or 3 kind of good ideas to help them solve those problems. So this is a new program for us. We're excited to see that launch and see how it goes.
I think that's a great word on the importance of mentors and coaches and people that have been there that can help us. That was one thing I learned early on when I started my business, Doug, is who can I learn from that's where I want to be? Who around the country even has created a financial planning and investment and wealth management practice that I respect and that I want to get to where they are, and then learn from those people. Because young people today, you'd be surprised how much young business people enjoy mentoring and coaching young people. And to this day, I think there's a never-ending quest to become better. Even to this day, I prefer to continue to look for people that I can learn from that can help me be better. And I think that's so crucially important. Now, hiring great employees is not always easy, as we know. It's got to be a great fit for both the employer and the employee. Now, from some of the experience I've had, Doug, interns can be a great way to find employees. Over 51% of eligible interns either remain with that company or return to that company as an employee after graduation. And I know the Chamber has a great guide to creating internships and offers internship consulting services. Talk about this and what the benefits are of offering internships at your company.
Yeah. So first of all, if you look at the statistics, if you bring an intern into your business, you're 75% more likely to retain that and hire that person. So it's a great kind of two-way test drive, so to speak, with young talent coming into your business. And so realizing that is one of the many solutions to our talent pipeline, process is to help companies understand what does it mean to create an internship. And so, very large, well-established companies typically, have very successful programs. But if you're, for example, a mom and pop business on Main Street, and hey, it'd be great to have an intern, but I have no idea where to start. The Chamber put together some resources. We actually offer free consulting services. You can go to, there's a website that we have called hireupknox.com, HIREUP Knox.com. And there's all kinds of resources. That website is meant to be kind of a one-stop shop for employers in the community and any kind of workforce development resources for the community. So go there. One of our team members will sit down with you and help you kind of outline how to get it started, how to advertise it. We've got internships posted on there. So if companies or students that might be listening this morning are seeking an internship, there's, I think, 30 or 40 different internships posted on there right now, and we'd love to see that list grow.
So that's hireupknox.com, and hire, that's HIRE. I will say, it just from personal experience, when we first did an internship, we were kind of like what you just said with a mom and pop shop. What do we do? How do we start? And still kind of learning that. And I think from my perspective, I think you want to look at it from two different angles. One is, how can this benefit the potential internship person, the employee that's coming in, and then how can it impact your business? And I think it has to be very, very much a double-sided coin, because, I hear too many stories of internships where the businesses merely focus on how it can benefit them, and then I see other times they focus so much on the intern that it doesn't really it ends up just being a dead cost. So I think it's important to balance those things. Do you have any comments or observations on what I just said?
Yeah, definite two-way street. And, we typically have, interns at the Chamber in our organization, and we try and expose them, even if they come in to say, we're interning in our finance department at the Chamber. We want to make sure that they get to experience and at least understand and have some exposure to all of the different facets of the business. And so I think that's critical, to make sure that the student or the intern has exposure to a lot of different areas. Can not only help
Absolutely.
that intern, but bring different ideas back to the company.
Absolutely. We're visiting with Doug Lawyer with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. When we come back, we'll talk about a couple of other great resources that are available at the Chamber. As Knoxville continues to grow in economic development and grow in the area, we have such a wonderful place to live and attract people and businesses and talent. So stay with us. This is More Living with Jim Brogan here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.
Welcome back to News Talk 98.7's Brogan Financial Studios, where Jim Brogan is coming to you live with important news and advice to help you achieve your dream retirement. Get ready to learn and live. Here's your host, Jim Brogan.
Thanks for listening this week to More Living here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Check us out online, broganfinancial.com. My next class is a one-night retirement income planning class. If you're close to retirement or retired, how can you maximize income, spend confidently, accomplish the goals that you want, fight inflation, all of those things? It is on August the 29th. It is a 2-hour class through Pellissippi State at their Hardin Valley campus. Again, August the 29th, 6:30 p.m. You can go to PellissippiRetirementIncome.com for more information. That's PellissippiRetirementIncome.com. We've been talking to Doug Lawyer this morning with the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce, and we're talking about the great economic development, the great programs that are available. Doug, talk to us about the Endeavor Young Professional Summit coming up in October.
Yeah, so October 3rd, it's an all-day summit, and it's going to be held out at Bridgewater Place right there in West Knoxville. And really that is designed for young professionals to get together, to get engaged in the community. And so there's a variety of programs and how to engage in the community, how to volunteer, learning about business startup opportunities. The keynotes that day are going to be, I think we've got 4 kind of young professionals that have launched businesses or are running businesses in Knoxville. And kind of like we talked about on Morning Momentum, to share the challenges and opportunities that they experienced as they grew businesses here in the community or are running businesses in the community. So I would encourage folks to check that out. You can go to, I'm sure it's on the website. I should have that website in front of me, but just Google Endeavor Young Professional Summit and folks can get on there and register for that.
And then, Doug, talk about what types of resources the Chamber offers for local businesses.
Yeah, so all different types of things. So if a company, certainly is trying to expand and grow their presence in the community, we offer, we do a lot of ribbon cuttings. I think we did almost 70 ribbon cuttings for businesses over the past year through our existing business outreach program. We've got folks that will go in and meet with business owners and business leaders and just almost like a concierge. What are your challenges? What are your opportunities? How can we support? And maybe that's connecting to other businesses in the community or helping them identify new markets to explore, or assisting with real estate. And for larger projects, there might be some incentives that the community or the state even can bring to the table to help support job growth. So in workforce, again, internship or helping companies get plugged into the 865 Academy so that they're part of the workforce development discussion is something that we want to continue to turn the volume up on those conversations.
Yeah, and I urge you, if you're a young business executive or owner, to really plug into all the programs that the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce offers. Doug, thank you for being with us. It's been very educational talking about economic growth here in Knoxville. It's always a joy to have you on our program.
I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for what you're doing in the community, and I hope you have a great morning.
Well, thank you. You too. That's Doug Lawyer. He is the Vice President of Economic Development for the Knoxville Chamber of Commerce. Always good to have him on. Today we've discussed a greater community, because a greater community provides for more living, so you can live the best years of your life your way. Many thanks to Wayne for engineering the show. Thank you to Jill for helping produce the show. Check us out online, broganfinancial.com. We'll be starting up our fall series of classes, both through Pellissippi State and the University of Tennessee, through their adult education. Go to broganfinancial.com and click on classes, my first class of the fall is August the 29th at Pellissippi State. Income planning for retirement. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend. You've been listening to More Living with Jim Brogan, only on News Talk 98.7 WOKI.